so we've come to build video number 3 of the Tamiya Buckin Bronco. So you can see last night I stayed up a little bit later and got some more stuff done. I have now hung my axles on the suspension. Got that all set up. Next we're going to be moving on to assembling the shocks themselves. So I've got all the parts out here. Basically, here's where the videos are going to start getting longer and longer because I'm going to show the assembly of one of these shocks, and then from then on out, should be interesting. Alright, so got my workspace. Gotta have a cigarette, of course. Alright, so now we're going to 17, our dampers. Of course you can't see it. Which means we need to go and open this bag right here, which has all our little piece of parts in it. Shocks and dampers. Okay, we've got this piece here, which is a U3. Yes. So we reach around here, take piece U3, snip a U3 off. BC10. This is where we go inside of here. Go in our little baggie here and get our O-rings. We're going to need 2 O-rings. There's 1 and 2. There's our 2 O-rings. Then we take our shock shaft itself. And if you look up here on this end, it's got two little splines where you're going to be putting dinky little C-clips on. I mean, ridiculously small C-clips. So now we also have to look for bag X, which is, I believe, right in here. Tamiya is always real good, or Tamiya. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a debate when saying it. Well, I guess it's the same thing as decals versus decals. I mean, I've always known it as decals, but that's just, it's just me. Alright, so we need an X8, which is one of these little dinky little suckers, and I know you've got to trim these perfect, otherwise they will not fit in the shock body, right? Learned that from doing SCX builds, building all the SCX and the AX10 shocks. So this is definitely not my first rodeo when it comes to shock. So it looks like what our first step is going to be is we slide in the piece that I just dropped. And we're going to C-clip on both sides of that. There's going to be a C-clip on both ends. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is grab one of these ridiculously small C-clips, try and feed it on here. Get it on there the best I can, take needle nose pliers, snap the C-ring on that, pop that sucker on there, grab another ridiculously small C-clip, which these things are not easy to pick up at all. You usually have to have a magnetized tool like that. I take a lot of my screwdrivers, and I have a magnetic parts tray that holds like nuts and bolts or whatever, anything that's ferrous metal, it will take and hold it. And I take all my tools that I know I'm going to need. Like, see, look, even my pliers, it's dangling that little C-clip from it because it's magnetized. It helps you in the long run, big time. So, there we go. We got that secured on. That one's done. Now all we simply do is we take one of these shock bodies here, shock body, Obviously there's that little dingle piece on there, so I'm going to trim that. I don't like, actually, you know, you don't trim that with that, you use a razor blade for that deal right there. Alright, that's been razor bladed. We take this piece, and now inside of this piece here, God, it's so hard working with the camera angles. I'm going to take my main shock body, drop it down into my shock. If I can find the hole. Oh, that's what she said. Alright, so we've got the shock body in. Now we're going to take and slide on both of these O-rings. Both O-rings going in onto the shaft. Take our cap, come down here, screw the cap. Excuse me. Screw the cap on. Now we've got a nice tight fitting because there's no oil in it yet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take an X2. X, where'd the X's go? Here's an X2. Take one of these X2s, and we're just going to screw this X2 all the way on. Get this thing tightened down for you. Sometimes, like it even says to use a pair of pliers to hold your rod while you're doing it. Wow, dirty video. Dirty video, you guys. The RC world is so dirty. So dirty. Alright, cool. So there's that. We've got the completed body there. I'm going to go ahead and skip to the next step as far as what we do. Of course, we're going to repeat this 3 more times. Now what we do is we take, pull that up. We're going to fill this with shock oil, and we're going to move slowly up and down to bleed it out. So we take the oil provided in the kit, Tamiya Damper Oil Soft. We're going to take our shock, we're going to fill it up with some oil. And now we're going to slowly bleed it out. That way it's got oil on both. Whoa, did you see that? I'm not doing that to be disgusting. I'm just trying to get the shock bled as oil sprayed all over me. Remove air bubbles. Okay, there's no more oil bubbles in that. So now what we do is, as I set this down and hope not to spill any out of it, we go in here and take one of our caps, our shock caps, that prevents your oil from leaking out of the shock. Stick that in the top. And then we go ahead and take one of these shock cap bodies, the very top, and we just screw it down on to the shock itself. There we go. There's the shock. Now, of course, I'm probably going to go back through here and readjust them as I go, but that's a completed Tamiya shock. Now, I've got to repeat this 3 more times, so once that's done, I will show you guys the result of that, and we'll move on to the next step, which is doing the drive shafts and assembling the planetary gear, and of course putting the springs on too. Alright, now we're moving on to I've got all 4 shocks completed over there. Now we're moving on to setting these springs in, which is actually a pretty cool way of doing it. I noticed up top here you got this little sleeve that the spring will actually slide all the way up into like that. And then the same thing repeats on the bottom. You just slide the spring until it's sitting like that. Then you take these little shackles here that have dinky little screws. You set one of them in. Just line it up with the hole here. It's actually a pretty cool little system. I like this design. This is pretty cool for a little perch. Doesn't matter if that bottom one falls out, because you can always reset it. But you take these little screws here, slide them in. Slide that in, that one's done. Slide that spring back in its perch. Get down here. Just get this to line up. Which is being a little pain in the butt right now, but not a biggie. Get my screw lined up. Got that one all lined up, and just a matter of tweaking that to adjust that where it needs to go. Sticking your other screw in. And look at that. There's your front suspension. I'm going to carry around and go ahead and do the rears while I'm at it, since I'm already here. I've got all my perch mounts out, so might as well do this while I've got the camera rolling. Just take another one of these little upper mounts. This time I'm setting the screwdriver on it. This is pretty damn neat right here. And the dogs bark for no apparent reason. Now I did notice that with this truck, having those little propeller shafts, I'm not really a big fan of propeller shafts. Even though they are splined like the axial, the new the Wraith shafts are. Not really a big fan of plastic shafts, period, especially when they're in a high stress condition like being in one of these RCs. So I went ahead and went on Amazon again, and I found another set of well, it's not like I found them, they're always there, but another set of MIP spline CBDs for an AX10 or SCX. Believe it or not, it's actually better to get the AX10 ones because the AX10s are longer than the SCX. I did do that comparison. You see they just click into place. And once we get this final set going here, let me get the screws out for it and ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is probably going to be one of the longest videos of the day. Just because I'm incorporating so much stuff into this one. This is really awesome. This is probably going to be almost a half-hour video. And I hope you guys have the patience to sit through it. Okay, so we got that half mounted. Once again, it's just another... Alright, the wife's home. that's going to be a teaser, or spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. She went out. Of course, I'm dedicated to the build, so I sent her in to get paint. Now, my choices were very limited, but I think everybody should be happy with the end result of this one. I hate it when it jumps. Just don't have access to it there. It's kind of hard. It pinches. There you go, folks. You've got the spring set up now. Now, once I go ahead and put some other parts together, we're going to go ahead and do the shock part of it. But that wraps up doing the springs. As you can see, already got some good flex to it, so next trial will be the springs. And finally, we come to the end of the suspension part of this build, which will be the draw of the end of build video number 3 on the CR01. What I've done is I've gone ahead and I've attached all the suspension. You guys watched me put the springs on. What I did off camera to save some time so this video wasn't like an hour and a half long is I went ahead and I've mounted my shocks on the side the way that they go, and I've also mounted the stabilizer links, which now it all makes perfect sense why I had to put so many of these ball links on here. And the other thing I have to give Tamiya big props for is they give you these sizes for every one that you need to do, so you can screw on your little part and then gauge it up against that. That way you've got perfect sizes every time. But I want to show you guys, I'm sure other people who have the CR1s already know how this works, but check out this suspension, the way it works. As it goes down, it's a cantilever suspension, which is actually really cool. Now I finally understand what these two bars here are for. The upper link, of course, attaches to your shock. Your lower link attaches to your a mini drag link, or what they call a damper. And when your suspension bucks up and down, it moves that cantilever, which in turn pulls the piston in and out of the shock, while the coil spring is going up and down simultaneously with your upper and lower links, which I gotta hand it to him. That's one hell of a design there, and it does have, if I squat this thing, it's got pretty good flex. It's got about as much flex as a SCX-10 does stock, which is really freaking cool. So, with that being said, that's going to cap build video 3 for this truck. The next video will be the assembly of the differential, the propeller shafts, which of course I already said I've bought a pair of MIP spline CVDs for it. The only thing that has me worried about that is all the gears inside the transmission are plastic, and those MIPs are some pretty heavy duty shafts. So I might end up, my SCX, the F650 right now, has a metal front shaft and a stock axial Wraith rear shaft because I had taken the MIPs off to put on the Safari Wraith that is hidden by the Dodge body. So most likely those MIPs are going to be going back on the SCX because it's much more efficient power transfer. I'm going to give the impeller shafts a shot. And oh, here we go. Here's the spoiler alert for the body. I decided the main color is going to be, this is a stock Chrysler color, which, yeah, I know I wanted a stock Ford color, but we're going to go with Champagne Pearl as the primary, and for the topper, I'm going to be using a gloss black. So we're going to have a champagne and black Bronco, which will give it that good vintage 70s look. I think it'll turn out pretty cool. But yep, that pretty much puts a wrap on build video number 3. Hope you guys enjoyed watching and seeing this project evolve and progress. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're getting really close to the end of this build. But I think I can manage to squeeze out at least 2 or 3 more videos just so you guys stay in suspense. But till then, I'm going to sign off on this one, and I'm going to start filming video 4. That way I've got it already ready to start rocking, so I can do this on a daily upload, give you guys your RC fix. Don't forget to stop over to RC Sparks, check out the forum, sign up, register if you already haven't. Yeah. This build's going along a lot smoother than my F350 has, and I've got to say that I would definitely purchase another one of these CR01s in the future, whether it be the Land Cruiser or the Jeep, which I think I might do the Jeep one next, seeing how it's built on the same platform. But there you go, guys. There's build 3.